For those who haven't attended an unconference, it's just people, if they're interested in talking about anything in particular, they can say, hey, I want to have a discussion about puppies. And then everybody who wants to talk about puppies goes and that group and talks about puppies. I was just talking about Maptime related things and not puppies, although puppies are technically Maptime related. So one thing I heard walking around, there's a couple people in the room who are interested in starting chapters and haven't started them yet. So I think that would be a great topic for folks who are interested in starting, and then anyone who wants to give advice or feels like they have things to say about getting started and providing that information. I think that would be a great unconference session. And so I'm going to suggest sort of that corner for that. And does anybody else have another topic that they want to throw out there? Yeah.
Kind of, but I also want to return to that. So this is going to be but one of the things that I think about a lot, and I think Maptime for themselves sustainably, not just for the chapter, is be a little bit more specific in addressing some of people's barriers.
Totally.
And so specifically, like when I wanted to transition from desktop mapping to web mapping, and I tried to go through it's a great tutorial, but it doesn't tell you the basic things like what a peer review is for someone who's never come before. Is that a basic thing where you guys save files? Other things like if you're someone who's done databases or used to language like joins and you don't know what a merge is, and if you don't even know what to Google for on Stack Exchange, you're kind of just immediately eliminated from it. So I think brainstorming both about what some of those barriers to entry might be and how we can fix them, but then sustainably what kind of community or peer Maptime could develop as a whole to address some of those problems.
That's awesome. So maybe we do that one in that corner. I think maybe just because it's 25 minutes, 2 sounds good, unless anyone is, we're going to do another unconference session later, so we can explore other topics. But that sounds great. And then around 12:15, we'll head out for lunch. Oh, we want to do it before lunch?
Yeah, because the photographer's going to be on.
Oh, okay. So yeah, we're going to do a group photo at 12:15, and then we'll head out to lunch. So starting a new Maptime over there. Accessibility and conceptual accessibility in terms of being a beginner and lowering barriers to entry over here. Yay! Break! Wait,
what was that creature?
Yay!
Okay.
Oh yeah, definitely.
When you like, oh wait, so it is on there to do. If you don't like, I know the fact that
Before you pass, not while you pass.
should be like turn this computer and have it face the other way or something.
I want an animated GIF of that jump.
Yeah.
Or maybe we should turn it off for now since
Well, I don't know. Yeah. Do we want to just watch one of the unconference sessions? Because it won't make sense to watch both.
yes, here. Let's ask
But-
people.
Well, so that's the thing. I'm trying to set up like the chat, see if other people can chat. I don't see where that is.
I see viewers.
You type something in the chat and let's see if that pops up as me.
Yeah.
Let's see that.
Alright, this might be a totally crazy idea, but maybe we could just do it on the floor.
Yay! That one is starting a chapter.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Just watch the plugs. Okay. I think these are open.
So that's really cool. Just excited.
So, which topic was this?
This one is addressing specific barriers to entry.
Do we just want to record that one?
Yeah, we can do that.
Oh, just post that out. Okay, that's totally fine. I did all my work.
So one thing that
Can everyone say their name before they say something?
sure. I'm Dan. One thing that came up on something recently was if you like pull up a piece of software that has is somewhat technical and there are like lots of prerequisites, maybe something you could do instead of like documenting all of the prerequisites in full, to sort of like have a list of prerequisites and a link to some really good resources on how to learn them. So like if it's leaflet, maybe it could be like basics of JavaScript or something like that.
Has anyone ever, oh, sorry, Taylor. That's good policy. Has anyone ever tried to put together like a map-related dictionary of thesaurus terms? Like I know some of the presentations that we showed around, kind of like slide by slide, but it seems like we could all together make something that would work pretty well for people to like look up stuff if they notice things.
I just want to like, we could have like, we could collectively have Maptime meetups where we illustrated those terms and that could be a meetup. I want to do that.
That was the very first Maptime project ever was an ABCs of cartography book that we had yet to illustrate, but has a ton of definitions in it. And we'll post a link to that repo in Slack and we can pick that project back up. That was literally the first thing we did. It was awesome, but it was kind of like lost steam until the project got.
Patrick, one of the things I was thinking about what you were saying the session was maybe just even like a really meta meetup where you talk about how you go about learning something you don't know, and how you look for answers, what to search for. Like that is a thing that is difficult when you're learning just to kind of know how to search and how to look answers. Where do you want to sign up?
One thing that I also want to hear on is amazing that it's really difficult is installations, which sounds really like, but like I use R and to this day installing all the Geo packages to be able to load shapefiles in R is like the bane of my existence. And no one ever teaches you how to do the install. That's just like step one of what you learn. So if anyone is interested in research,
Coursera has a lot of free resources to learn stuff like that. So I'm new to basically everything. Like, so I'm using like Coursera, Carter TV, Academy. Like I run into problems because I get to the point on Carter TV where it's like you need to learn JavaScript knowledge. And like to enjoy everything about JavaScript, like what am I going to learn? So I'm starting through JavaScript Academy, and is this what I need for mapping? Is this not what I need for mapping? So it's like a trajectory of like, what you can learn on these. Not learning things.
I'm John. What do you guys think about having like two start times? There's like a very introductory one where in more experienced people can show up like half an hour later. But yeah, so like if you don't know, I think is reading all these resources, finding all these links, like you don't know which ones you know, but looking up some strong, really like as you type.
My question for both then, Sarah and Zoe, is what's the transition like when everyone arrives after half an hour or after an hour? Is it disruptive? Do you have time?
Usually we try to have a break.
Okay.
So just like put up beers and then everyone comes and the people are kind of still sitting there and then we just kind of transition into the talks. But usually it's not that break. Also,
Phil, over there, Philly?
yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Your guys' talk was great, and you talked a lot about accessibility as well. And I think one of the key things to address what Sarah was talking about was starting off every session by saying, hey, this is what we are. These are our resources. And to present that for people who are members. That's more in a Maptime specific context, and maybe not just mapping learning experience. But I think that's a really good initiative to make everyone feel comfortable to access this graph.
I agree with that. So John.
So, yeah, I mean, kind of how we.
At that meetup, actually, at the tail end of it, I had someone come up to me and he was like, it was one of our regular students. Like, when I saw the title, I didn't know what you meant by accessibility, and now I do, and I'm really happy that I attended. And hearing that from him was A, like, I'm glad he had a good time, but B, just made me super conscious of the language that we use and how specific words trigger responses with people. So, like, it can become such an afterthought so easily when you're just writing a tweet or writing copy for your meetup post, to include that beginners are welcome and no prior experience necessary. Really just set a tone from the very start that make people feel comfortable walking through the door.
But I think the logical counterpart to that is we're gonna start off every map time using the
For
picture
me, what I'm hearing today was that
we should probably be able to map time to learn about at what point you want people to drop off elsewhere and how you adjust that because it's really great in theory and kind of at a meta level and saying your level of beginners, but it's another thing to look back and say, whether I was lost in this presentation because I just don't know where to save it, like what's it works, I know that's the restaurant, where do I put it online? And I think just being a little bit more perspective.
So,
My name's Robin. I have a
So, yeah,
thoughts, one related to that, which is
for me,
I've been a TA this past year, and one thing I found is if I just stand for class and does anyone have any questions, no one will raise their hand and say they have any questions. But if I walk around to each individual person, I'm like, is there anything I can help you with? Like, half the class will have questions. And so not just standing up in front of the class, but going around and track. And then another thing, and I don't know what place Maptime has in this, but there are tons of resources online for beginners, and there's tons of resources online for experts. And there is nothing for the wide intermediate area, which is where I think most people fall. And so I don't know if it's the kind of thing where it's like, maybe someday Maptime could get a grant to keep those resources. Because I think that mapping is a really awesome gateway drug to programming. That's at least how I've come to programming. And I'm still stuck in this intermediate area. But I think that'd be like a really cool grant someday, 2 years from now. So yeah, I think having more resources.
So, Steve Mather, what was the first thing you said? Sorry.
Teaching people, like going around.
Yeah, so one thing we found really helps is if you've got multiple experts in the room, having them distributed and explicitly structuring that. Say, hey, talk to these people, they'll be moving around while you're working. But I think the first couple ones that we did were a little bit tougher. We get stuck in one spot, and then with the whole class is stuck, and there were ways that we could have structured it better. And that's something that's hard to do in a university setting because you don't have staff that's really easy to do. If you've got enough organizers, enough people, or if you're repeating material, then hey, these 5 people were here last time. Then it starts to empower people. Sorry.
Oh, no. Yeah, having a bunch of experts in the room is really great. But has anyone worked with other experts, like Node School, like other educational meetups, and tried to work with them? That's something I've been thinking about doing, but haven't yet done. And then Node School does. It's like similar things in all different cities. And so if you're looking at introing people to JavaScript or to like GitHub with a command line, they have tutorials for all of those.
These online VMs that
and
walk
they
you
do,
through the tutorials.
and they do it similar to Maptime, that they have like regional events, but much less.
Going back to the questions that everyone's talking about, two of the things we noticed, one of the things that I'll do is I'll ask questions that I think other people may be wondering but don't want to ask publicly. Because like as an organizer, I'll feel comfortable enough to just ask the most basic things and not worry what other people think of it. And then everyone kind of collects from that. The other thing is that people have questions, they just don't know that yet. So the sooner you can actually get to the hands-on portion and people try something and then they run into a roadblock, that's when they'll have questions. Like, well, you know, I didn't know I needed to know this, but now I do, so how do you do it? And that's why I try to always ask, even when we do tutorials or activities, try to ask our speakers to limit themselves to 30 minutes or so. So the majority of the time actually is trying, you know, is trying to failing and at least hands on as much as possible.
I think it's super important. And I think it's super important in anything, just showing, like, if you're presenting or going through something, letting yourself fail, and especially like encouraging the experts in the room to not act like they're the experts in the room. Because I know there's a couple people that come to our events and have like been like, oh, you can do this easily in ArcGIS online. And I'm like, I know that's great, but like we're talking about Cardi B today, or we're talking about Leaflet 101. And it's great that you have these like ideas, and I would love for you to present that, but like don't intimidate other people, because that is scary and not a good atmosphere to have.
I think this is the beginning of the conversation that we need a formal space for when we are not physically in the same city together. So if anyone has any ideas about that, I see these two different kinds of like messages that are necessary. One is strategies for Maptime organizers, and a bunch of them are already on the table, and I'll put them online somewhere. And the other is just observations about what those barriers to entry is, and any feedback that you put in Maptime sessions that others can benefit from. I think that needs to be a separate space.
One thing that I've thought about before and haven't obviously done yet, but I think it could be interesting to try like office hours. Like I know that OpenStreetMap does like office hours, and like just setting up time online where, because I think that sometimes we do have questions for each other. We do want to talk, and like having that set up would be great. If someone wants to run with that. Great.
Or like a
yeah, like a Google Hangout, or like, you know, just being like, I'm going to be on Slack from 7 p.m. Eastern time to 8 p.m. You know, Eastern time, whatever. And then like, you know, just have people come together. Like we had this really, we did this really amazing, like giant all organizer meeting thing way early on a Saturday morning in Pacific time some months ago. And I think it seemed like it was really effective for people. Like, I don't remember, was anybody here a part of that conversation? Yes. Was it enjoyable, helpful, or?
It was awesome.
Yeah, awesome. So yeah, we could totally do more of those kinds of things.
I think we could also just start like a hashtag stupid map questions.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like any, you know, official map city answer.
Yes. Oh, I love that.
Or like no stupid map questions, I guess would be.
Is someone taking notes on this, by the way? Yes. Okay, right. Computers do. Yeah.
But technical note about Slack. It would be great if we could actually start pushing these conversations into like GitHub issues, because that way the history is safe forever and we can continue to go back to them. And if you're uncomfortable with GitHub, Alan and I will talk about that later. But we don't have safe history on Slack until we get nonprofit status.
Well, we have an EIN number. So that's all. That's actually
so
the
we're
thing
working
we need.
on that.
Yeah.
But we don't currently have that yet. And like we do all of our HQ conversations on GitHub, and I know that some of the chapters do a lot of their conversations in GitHub issues. So if we could keep that pattern going, so that the rest of us can like check in on what everyone else is doing and like get inspiration.
Well, I
agree with that. I just think that conversation needs to be available not just to organizers.
Oh, it's not. Those are public.
Those are?
Yeah.
But like GitHub itself is kind of a barrier to entry, so we need a more. It always
Well, there's a distinction between sort of where you need to have that low latency conversation where you're like interacting versus, okay, we've identified this as an issue. Let's put that on GitHub and let's address that. Yeah.
So it's actually
Aggregating those questions.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
Putting action items in the issues.
Yep.
That goes with the institutional house too.
One thing I'll say, this is not meant to be a personal plug, but on my website, I know Maptime has a resources page. Over the last 3 years, I've just been compiling all of my mapping resources in one place, and I'm happy to share them on Slack. But
You're also welcome to put them on the Maptime website if you think that they're like totally open for that kind of thing. That would be really awesome.
Dan, again, has anybody, and on something I want to ask this question, has anybody done like a basics of like the web meetups? And the reason I ask that is I was doing a leaflet tutorial, and
had a lot of questions about how to like get the page working correctly, and just on the, like everybody was working, but I went up to the projector and I was like, hey, just for a minute here, here's like how you use Chrome DevTools to inspect things and like poke around, and like you could just hear around the room everyone going, oh, okay. And I like realized, oh, I should have done this first. In the future, but has anyone done anything similar?
I was going to say that I haven't had a first meetup yet, but my plan is to visit at the same time as Maptime developers time, which is like an all-female group of people learning how to use the web. And so I was going to use the same space as them, so that if we had questions, we could go right over to them.
But actually, the first thing I have to ask you about ways. It doesn't violence
Anyone else want to throw on the list other things that were there, personal barriers to entry mapping or transitioning between tools?
Well, so one of the things just to follow up was we originally thinking about
Just like sitting next to someone and
professors
we had to think
and we decided not to for the exact reason you said.
I wrote web maps for 2 years before discovering all the tools in Chrome.
I'm Rhonda. This might be a little basic, but one of my barriers more recently is I switched to Mac after an entire lifetime of being on Windows and working at a company that's entirely Windows. So learning the way that Mac calls things was different for me differently, because I know all the shortcuts in Windows and all that, and now going to a Linux environment, and it's one thing that seems silly because everybody has Macs, but not everybody always has Macs.
This isn't a barrier of entry. I'm just thinking about possible ways to kind of help. Like, there's a lot in our early meetups. Like, you have like half the people really engaged in doing stuff, and the other half would be like, a little bit like they run into an issue and they want to ask for help, and they don't know how to get like going is disengaged. And I'm wondering if it might be good for some things, especially if we run apps or something that's actually technical. Setting up like pairing groups. So like, I'm really good at web development, I'm not so good at map stuff. I'm really good at like desktop stuff, I'm not so good at web development. Like pairing those two together so they can work and talk through their code, talk through what they're doing together. Like Screen Hero is, I think, free, and you can pair really easily. I've found so much like pairing with someone who knows, some more of what they're doing than I do, and vice versa.
What's that you just said?
Screen Hero? It's a screen sharing, like a sharing thing. It's super cool because you can actually control your screens too. Like you can just jump in and type some. The pairing is Brandon, I just want to go back to one of my barriers to programming was definitely learning how to navigate GitHub and where to find code and stuff like that, and what's the wiki versus where's like the repositories and stuff like that. And I was wondering if we put a lot of our information centralized on GitHub, if that could also be a place where you introduce GitHub and then kind of point them to GitHub by navigating through Maptime materials. And I was wondering, I guess, for any groups that have done like a longer term project with their Maptime members, if you guys have put it on GitHub or like taught them GitHub project. You guys are
a way of teaching people how to get incentivized giving them something job where they have to do. But maybe just like that means adding something like record to
Sarah, I guess. In Vancouver, we're doing this right to map the free libraries also around town using GitHub as a page to access that. So it requires some moderation because there are a lot of people who just try a lot, and to have either be the person who moderates everything or to allow for someone to pop up the page takes some patience. It's a way of
Yeah, I don't know, just in comment on this, maybe there's other experiences, like I have the feeling, because I was also very new to the whole thing, and then as I start learning more and more about it, I forget that other people, also are kind of behind where I started, so I'm kind of familiar with this technology now, so I'm like, okay, I talk about GitHub issue, like, which I didn't know before, like a half a month before, now I know what I'm talking about, but it's kind of like, I should be thinking about people that, that are still there, so I kind of, I don't know if that's also happening to you guys, not do that, maybe that's really interesting.
Is that something you can address in like sort of meeting? Yeah, and you can put it and start from the beginning.
Yeah, I think that should be something that's, but yeah, exactly, like we've done that at the beginning, and now that I'm like, I'm kind of forgetting to do that. So I'm like, okay, yeah, we have to start right away, whereas probably that would be
I think that brings up a good point though, with all of the topics. Somebody mentioned earlier that you have to find a balance between repeating tutorials and not repeating them, because if you're constantly bringing in new people, you can't expect them to just come in knowing how to use anything. But then you don't want to bore these folks that are there every time. So I don't know.
There's a guy over here who's
has anyone done like more than once already?
and they don't know each other.
I mean, in San Francisco, we actually kind of on purpose started over with, we sort of created a curriculum a curriculum for 6 months, starting with anatomy of a web map and then moving through a few different things and sort of building on that. And on purpose actually asked some people not to come to those, because for about a year and a half, we had a lot of the same people and we had the issue of a waiting list, and people were like, I really want to come, but I can't come. And so we on purpose repeated so that people could come and get the beginner stuff, and then they could start coming to the other things. And yeah, so that's how we handled it.
For us, a bit of a middle ground is that not all of our meetings are activity or tutorial based. Sometimes we'll just get people in a room together. We can be like, we're going to meet up tonight, and you can practice things you started at other meetups. And because it's more of just a general people in the room sort of vibe, that pairing that Patrick talked about earlier, it lends itself to that. You either just turn to the person to your right without saying that you're interrupting and be like, can you help me out with this? Or if they can't, someone in the room probably. And those are also a lot easier to organize than finding a speaker and coming up with an activity. Sometimes it's really just powerful to get just like-minded people in the room working on things and know each other better. So that's kind of the merit we've seen it really by having nights that are just generally open for people to work on what they want to know each other.
Yeah, I think for us,
we're still writing opportunities and help themselves.
So ours is first Thursday, 6 to 8. How often do you guys meet? At first
every other week.
Feedback.
Once or twice a month. But typically what we'll do is one of those 2 meetings monthly will just be that repeating general open night. So very rarely do we do 2 speakers or 2 activity nights. We'll try to get one of those in a month, and if not, we'll just default to general open nights. People come hang out.
Yeah, so it's like I'm going to be at work and I can get credits for going to this. That's
I think it is about time to wrap up. The photographer will be back in a second. This is a really, really awesome topic though, and I really hope that people continue to sort of foster this conversation online and throughout the day and that kind of thing. Because yeah, I'm really glad that you brought this up. Yeah, thanks everybody. Cool.
Has anybody tried mob programming before?
Tried to what?
Mob programming? Yeah, so there's a guy who does that at Maptime. He does mob programming for R. So he gets a whole group of people and they have one keyboard and one mouse, and it just moves around the room and they solve a problem slowly as a group. And it's really popular, so it's fun to do that. That would be really cool.
That would be really cool. I've never tried that though. I'm scared of that, but I'd like to see you guys do it.
I have to do that with Cardo CSS.
Cardo CSS.
Oh yeah.
All right. So I think that we're gonna sort of pile up in this corner, kind of. Is that what do you think?
Yeah. Really any way, anywhere to find this.
Here are the chairs. Okay.
I feel like a lot of our nominated
But
three
because you're
people.
not
They just go to meetups.
it's a data
They're not,
like they start people
like, I don't feel like they're making progress, but they often, or I don't know, like, I think they're just going to the meetup because they're or like making any, like,
Yeah, it would be good to get ideas, because that seems
we
like
also
something
have
we could.
other people like that one dude, so like, there's a number of people who are there actually, and they're quiet, and don't ask questions, but people.
Yes, this is our new. Absolutely. You better get Alan. Alan. Yes, perfect. All right.
Okay.
No.
Yes.
When he's taking a photo.
That one's the video.
Okay. Right. And we're gonna stop the broadcast because it seems like a good time to stop the broadcast, but we'll be back later after lunch.